Discover Help presents Stress-Free Living with Ray Samich and Mr. Stress-Free, Ratanjit S. Sandhi. This audio program is an unscripted and unrehearsed conversation between Ray and Ratanjit. It is shared with you in hope of adding value to your life. We encourage you to listen to this program in its entirety to receive the full impact of its message. Sit back, relax, open your heart, mind, and soul to this edition of Stress-Free Living.
Welcome to Stress-Free Living. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm Ray Samich, and I'd like to introduce you to my longtime radio colleague and show co-host, and more importantly, my spiritual brother, Ratanjit Sandhi. Ratanjit, how are you today?
Wonderful, Ray. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. Always better to be spending time with you and with so many of our guests that are here from all around the world, literally. We have several different countries represented in our Zoom audience, several states, so we really appreciate you being with us. And however you're listening or wherever means, whether it's live or whether it's one of our YouTube shows that you're catching on our Stress-Free Living Radio YouTube channel, where we have well over 100 past shows out there, all titled, so you can find ones that may especially appeal to you. Thank you for being with us. Ratanjit, we are continuing a topic that was suggested by one of our wonderful guests, and they asked us to talk about visualization, which I've shared in the past. I really haven't knowingly used it too much. I know you have. And so many athletes, celebrities, successful people in business have been able to integrate that into their means of living. Last week, we did a show, and we talked kind of in general terms about what it is and why people could use it and why it could be successful. But we really never got into saying, how do you do it? How do you actually successfully use visualization if you want to? So we thought we would do one more show that is a little bit more how-to oriented to help people with it. So if you were to kind of lay this out, and there's plenty of resources I just want to share with our audience. I mean, you can Google this and find what experts, so-called experts, say, even people that have used it, what they say to do with it. But I'd like to approach it in a way that's different, of course, Ratanjit, because that's how we do it, how you do it especially. From your perspective, if you wanted to start using this, what does it all start with? Does it start with the why? That basically we go to so many times, the ultimate reason why we want to do it. Is that where it starts?
Fundamentally, we have to realize something about ourselves. We all have our wants and needs. We have been given 5 senses, and based on what tastes good, what looks good, what feels good, what is comfortable, and we develop needs or wants. So there is a fundamental difference between wants and needs, basically. And many of your wants, they become needs, and so on. And then there is another side of us which we never really discover or are aware of that. That is our soul, our real self. And it has also some desires or not desires, so certain things which that real self sees very clearly that is required. So this law of attraction, what you desire, what you visualize, you can achieve, only works from our real self. Because once you realize there are 2 elements we have talked about many shows. One element is this housing our body, human body. And there is another element which is enlivens this human body, the universal power. Because it is universal power, it can do anything. So until the visualization is done by this universal power involved in it, cannot be achieved. If you basically use your human body mode, your desires, your wants, and your needs, and your greed, and your fear, your insecurities, based on that, you desire certain things. So the universal power is not going to be involved in making this happen. So you have to struggle through that and do it in a worldly way. But if you have the universal power involved in it, that has power to do anything. It is able to make this happen. So now, if I wants to have a fancy something which is going to make me feel good, and I'm going to be able to show my friends, and I have this, my ego would be helped, and my pride would be helped. So now I have decided to have that. I'm going to use the visualization, and Ratanjit told me I have to involve the power. So I'm going to ask the power to get involved. Power it's not quite as simple as that. So human power basically implemented, attached, or gets involved only which helps others simultaneously. If it is only selfish need of greed and ego and insecurity, and it doesn't help anybody, then the universal power will not get involved. That is why all our wishful thinking or visualization for the worldly things don't happen if we do not relate to our another ultimate goal of making this thing which is going to help the universe or the universal power.
See, I knew you would, and we didn't talk about this in advance, but I knew that you would take this in a different direction because visualization is the power of the mind, the power of the subconscious mind, because I've been doing a little reading on that part of it to try to understand it better. And it's much more complicated than I just did with a couple of phrases, but that's kind of the essence of it. And that's done in the human mode. That's done with the human brain and triggering all of that activity so that our whole body is committed, dedicated to accomplish this. And it becomes a part of us and becomes a part of our brain functioning around the clock, even at a subconscious level to reach that goal. And that's what people have done very successfully. I mean, again, athletes and celebrities and Olympians, I mean, it's all over the place with, they must teach that as part of Olympic training, that you visualize yourself getting that 10 score. So, but nothing that I have read, and maybe I've just missed it, but nothing that I have seen any of these celebrities have done brought in the divine power. None of them, they've mentioned the secret, they've mentioned the law of attraction, but they didn't do it in a spiritual way. They did it in just kind of like the world will respond to you because you're so committed to it. So let me ask, for all of these people, they're not doing it wrong, right? I mean, you can do visualization in that manner and it's working. It is making celebrities become famous. It is making athletes become successful, but it's not really using visualization at the level that it is capable of performing, right? I mean, they're kind of like doing the surface visualization with our limited body. I mean, I read something really interesting that you can improve the strength of your hand with visualization. Okay. I mean, and there was a science component to this that by using your hand motion and by um, watching yourself move your hand and carry your hand, your strength of your fingers was actually strengthened without physical exercises. I mean, it just sounds like impossible, but it's there. You can find the story on this, the research paper that was done with this. So it does work without bringing in the universal power, right? I mean, I just want to kind of start with that.
Without knowing, universal power is not a separate element because it is what is making you alive. There's another way to comprehend this. A small child, 10-year-old or somebody, and gets into this mode of getting this thing. And he throws tantrum and so many things, and somehow he wants to have that. So parents are the only one who can make it happen. So he's presenting this idea or wants or needs to the parents, and he's throwing tantrum, and I need it, I need it. And parents going to evaluate whether this thing is going to help him or this is going to hurt him, or eventually, and they may grant this wish. So similarly, until we become that child and throw a tantrum, so to speak, to the universe, and I need it, I need it. It has to be completely inculcated in every living ounce of our system that I have to have it. So this is now getting conveyed to our parent, which is our universal system, which is controlling us. And universal evaluates this is going to harm it, or is going to help him, or is going to be basically, and they then grant this. This is how actually it happens. So until whatever you are visualizing, it has to be total visualization. It has to be total commitment of your needs and wants and greeds, and all that has to be taken out of that. And you simply see that thing, only that thing, away from your wants and needs and your greed. And whenever you can relate your wants and need to make a meaningful difference to others, like an athlete, for example. So when he puts up a show to win this game, it is also going to make a mental satisfaction to so many of the fans. So it is helping those individuals. So it is much bigger than just for himself. And now this is many times this happens when a little child throws a tantrum, and it is so he's bent upon getting it. Sometimes parents have to bend over and give him that. So universal power is our parent. So until we convince the universal power to make it happen, and our total, complete commitment to have this happen is going to convey a message to the universal power, right?
I really love that example. It not only makes it very clear, but you can also identify with the components of that situation, of what really happened. Being a parent of kids and now of little grandkids, I don't want to say they throw tantrums, but you can see the level of commitment that they have to getting something, or having something go in the way that they want to. And so we can evaluate and say, it's a passing phase. Okay, they want it this week, they won't want it next week. And that happens all the time with kids. Or, this is just not a good idea. Right off the bat, we could just see that this is, they could get hurt by it, or this could lead to other worse things, or it's there is no value to it. So to give them this is just going to make them spoiled, and it's not going to accomplish anything. There's certain evaluations that parents automatically do when these scenarios arise. But if that child is so committed, and it's a sustained commitment, and it no longer is a tantrum. Maybe it started that way, but that tantrum evolved into just an incredible passion and a persistence that said, this is what I really need, or this is what I want to do, or this has become so real to them that they have to accomplish this. They have to realize this. You're right. The parents eventually come back and say, we have no choice. We have to grant this wish, whatever that might be, because of that persistence. And overall, we say, well, even though maybe we don't agree with it, maybe we don't think it's the best idea, but we can't say no because it is meaningful to that child. I also like how you put that into the perspective of the divine universe that says, we know things, we see things that aren't there yet. We can maybe think that if this happens, these other potential things will happen. Like you said, it's funny when you watch a game, something as meaningless in reality as a sports contest, but you see the entire community around that success become inspired. Everybody has a little lift to their thoughts, to their life, because their team is doing well and advancing in the playoffs or whatever it is. And so there is, nobody lives in a bubble. Everything we do, knowingly or unknowingly, impacts other people that are watching, that are engaged in it. So maybe sometimes, even if that tantrum motivation isn't the best for the individual, maybe that divine power sees that this could be better for a whole lot of other people if I grant this wish. Is all this making sense with what you
Yes,
think?
yes. That's so true. And further, once it gets into your psyche, your whole thing, your every ounce of your thinking, every ounce of your thing, you have to have this. Then automatically this would happen. And there is another
So
side.
go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, please share the other side.
So other side is that whenever a you are tying into bigger purpose, and you really don't know exactly what you need, and you also need directions. You somehow ultimately, for example, Mahatma Gandhi, he did not know how to free up India. It has never been done before. But when he got that inner commitment, the path became systematically clearer and clearer from every day. So not only it will grant you that wish, it will also clarify the path for you. Once the universal power is accepting that you are basically engaged in a purpose of making a difference. It's not a selfish purpose.
This last point is something that I had written down that I definitely wanted to get into, so might as well do it now. When we're only,
you want to take
nah,
a break?
I guess we better because this is going to take a little while for me to ask and for you to answer. We're on Stress Free Living today, talking further about how to actually do visualization in our life. If it is as powerful as so many people say, and if it has attained such great successes for people, should we all be doing it on a regular basis? And if we are, then how do we do it right so that it really does work for us? We'll be right back, tell you much more. All right. I've got to just make a note here on my thought. And anybody who would like to share, we've got 90 seconds. Please do. Anybody have anything to say?
Reka has something to say. Reka, go ahead.
Well,
Mike's open anyway.
Very quickly, I still find myself fearful of visualizing because I often don't know if it's coming from the ego mind and my own selfishness, even though I want to make a difference and I do have, intentions of good, I still fear, visualizing because I feel like it could, like we talked about last week, it could limit, the actual reality that this divine force has for us. And my limited thinking is restrictive, I find, so I still have this fear around visualization personally.
Okay.
That's going to fit exactly with where I was going to go. So listen up, because that's where it's a perfect fit. Thank you. Anybody else? We have a few seconds. Anybody want to add anything or ask a question?
I just wanted to ask
anything
a question, maybe not related to what Rekha said, but Ratanjit, did you use visualization as a tool when you were spearheading your company, and the great success that you had? Did you do that on a daily, did you actually do visualization, or did it just happen? Was it just the hokum, the will, and you just kind of went along the path, or did you actually visualize?
You'll do that in the show here. He'll answer that. Thank you. We will definitely have him do that. After we talk about this other topic, maybe we'll shift to that. Thank you, Rick. All right, we're coming back. We're back on Stress Free Living. Ratanjit Sandhi, yours truly, Ray Samich, with you today, talking about how to do visualization, how to actually use it in your life. Ratanjit, one of the big things that we kind of talked about last week was how we don't really know what's best for us. We always talk about how, at best, our mind is limited, and it also is not capable because we don't have the big picture all the time. We're tainted by our own fear, greed, ego, our limitations based on our age, our experiences, all those reasons. It's tainted. Our brain is working with only part of the information available, and part of that is not working properly because of our ego and greed and everything else. So when we set a destination, when we set a result using visualization, we may not even be looking for what we should be looking for, because we don't really know the result that we ultimately are supposed to have. We're just trying to do our best to figure out what that result should be. So I wanted to ask, in very much in line with some of the comments from our guests and some of our discussion from last week, is the difference between just engaging our human side and our divine empowerment trust? Is it trust that if we are only engaging our human side, we're trusting that we are all knowledgeable and all capable of doing this within ourselves? If we are allowing the divine to come in, the universal power to come in, now we're suddenly giving that trust away to that, which means we'll be much more focused on the journey, on the path, and maybe not even visualize the result. Maybe we stop visualizing at the on the path alone and not actually getting somewhere. What do you think of that?
You know, what happens is whenever we want something, and we have heard of this visualization. So what happens is when you, supposing I want a bigger home. So I want to visualize bigger home. But then there is something inside me says, do I really want the bigger home? It's going to be too much work. It's going to be maintenance. It's going to be this. So you set a doubt in this situation. Visualization would not work. So it has
Because
to
you
be,
have doubts?
yes.
Okay.
Anytime when you have concern about your visualization or your need, your desire, that is why when it becomes a mission, like the one Mahatma Gandhi had, there is no doubt this is what he wanted to do. So every ounce of their power within you gets engaged. You cannot invite power. It's already there. You are alive. It's the moment you separate power from you, it doesn't work. It's all in unison. All you have to do is remove the contaminants. The rest is all pure power. The contaminants are insecurity, fear, greed, ego, all these lusts, all these things once are taken out of that mission, it only goes direct to the power within you.
How do we know we are taking those out? When those are so pervasive in our life, how do we even know that this goal that I have isn't still contaminated in some way by some of those things?
But that's why it has to be basically a pure goal. It is not about achieving my ego or achieving my this or achieving my this. Even an athlete, when that athlete's or desire to win this game and he gets totally engrossed in that winning somehow is not attached to his ego. If it is attached to the ego, it won't work. There's a pureness about your thought and your mission, your purpose. Then only it is going to be supported by the universal power.
You mentioned in your example of the home, which was a perfect, typical kind of an example of something that people might want to dream about. When there's doubts involved there, do you think that that's the universal power trying to deter us from having that goal? I mean, am I too deep on this? Maybe adding an element that isn't even there. But could it be that there's an attempt to persuade us not to have that goal, and that's why those doubts come in? Or,
Those are always caused by the same ego, fear, insecurity, and greed, because they are still in existence, causing the doubts. Because if I buy this house, I have to work hard. Can I afford it? It's going to be asking too much maintenance. All those things are basically going to deter it. So I'll give you an example of, in my case, what happened once this thing happened. I did not know I was using this law of attraction or visualization. So it so happened in the late part of my journey with my company, and as I started doing more work on oneness, and I started doing the radio shows and television shows. My television show was broadcast in 150 countries or so on and so forth. I was giving lectures, writing books, and those kinds of things. And one day, my Dolly was working right with me, and as there was something of concern came in the plant. So she walks in my office and she says, "You have to pay more attention to these problems. So you're getting less and less involved." And so I sat her down, and we were sitting down, and something came out of my mouth without my knowledge. And I said, I basically want to devote my energy and my time to this oneness paradigm. Not that I want to make money or anything. Basically, this is my purpose. This is my mission. And then I said, why doesn't Dows of the world come and buy this company? It's making so much profit. It's perfect in their neighborhood. So, and I left it that. Within a month, believe it or no, I got a call from manager of the Dow. And they came and they said, we have targeted your company and name your price. So eventually this happens. Now, I don't know why, because I did not call Dow. I did not do anything. My company was not on sale, right?
yeah.
So how this happened? That particular moment, all my concentration and my everything was conveying that message to the universe. Not knowing I was doing basically visualizations or anything.
Right. No, that's sort of, when some people could say a coincidence, but when the coincidence is that remotely possible, then there has to be another element to it. There just has to be something else going on behind the fact, that you stated something, nobody was contacting them. That was your goal. That was your dream. That was your vision. And then it started becoming true within a month. That's amazing. So you were at that point convinced that that was the best plan for how you could impact the world, how you could add the highest value to the world. And you've been true to that fulfillment. There was no doubt in your mind at that point when you shared that with Dolly, who's your wife, for those that didn't know who you were referring to. When you shared that with Dolly, you were 100% on board with it, right? There was no doubt in your mind at that point that I really need to put more time into the company.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So everybody can see that as a clear-cut example of that. I'm talking about the people that don't have that clarity. All right. They're not, I mean, you're a very, wonderfully unique person. We're not quite that cut and dry to say that this is absolutely a pure intention. And I can guarantee that there's no human elements that are possibly distorting this vision. Okay, most of us live in that world. Most of us live there where we're trying to do our best. We're trying to add the highest value and be the best person we can be, but we know in our humanity we're flawed. So how do you jump to that clarity, Ratanjit? How do we know absolutely that the vision that we have is pure and true and it is in line with our purpose?
Basically, until we realize who we are and understand our bigger purpose of life, we will all get wrapped in our wants and needs. We spend our life in wants and need, and this happens or that happens. We constantly react to life. We basically we pick up a profession and make a living, and that's how we spend our life. And this bigger vision only come to you once you are in touch with yourself. You are able to get past your simple basic needs of existence. And you are able to ask this question, what is the purpose of life? My purpose is to get up, eat, drink, and go to sleep and go to work and make a salary. What is my purpose? Why am I here? Who am I? So those questions, once they become embedded in you, so your other purpose starts to become clearer. And most of us are so embedded in our wants and needs and all that, it is scary to go away from that because that's all we know.
I asked a question coming out of the break about trusting the journey versus trusting the result that I've chosen. And I'm trying to get an answer to that. If you do believe it's possible for me to know the result that I want to attain and therefore put myself on this path of getting there and trusting that I've got the right path. It is possible to do both, I guess is what I'm trying to ask. I can trust the path, but I also can trust my result. Is that true?
Fundamentally, once you begin to comprehend and understand and live who you are not the human body, but the divine power in you. And basically, you begin to have faith in the wisdom of the divine power which created this universe and you. And you begin to have two emotions come in you, and they become dominant and increasing. And one of the emotion is acceptance. You begin to accept everything is given to you rather than have the wants and needs. And second emotion is gratefulness. So once you live in these two emotions, pretty soon your ultimate mission is going to start to become clearer to you. Otherwise, you are forcing that mission, which would be all contaminated by your fear, greed, and your wants and needs and your ego.
You just keep coming up with these gems. I just love it. If I don't practice acceptance, then my results are always based on where I'm at right now and what I don't like about where I'm at right now. Okay. I've got this problem. I've got this big worry. I've got this big fear. I've got this situation that I don't know what to do with. And so, because I can't accept where I am, the view of where I want to go is distorted, probably by my fears, my greed, my ego, because I can't accept where I'm at. You know, I've got this big problem. I've got this big worry. I've got this, big debt. I have this big obligation. I have this, whatever it is that I can't get over. I can't accept it. I can't accept the fact that that's part of my mission, part of my journey. And so I'm so focused on that problem and getting past that problem, I am forgetting my purpose of life. I'm forgetting to even consider that this is just a hurdle on my overall journey that I will jump over. So, and then putting myself into a state of gratefulness after I do the acceptance is like, that's the, cherry on the top of the ice cream sundae, because now I'm not only accepting where I'm at, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to go from here. And now that's put me into a pure state that says, okay, what do I do next? All right. I just love how you've added that at this moment in the conversation, because I think it does take us into the pure mode of realizing then what we need to do next. Until we can accept what we have and gratefully move on from there, we're going to be tainted by our wants and our desires to improve upon whatever situation we're in. Thank you for sharing that last one. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll have a short window to kind of wrap up this how-to, the way you exactly think we should do it, Ratanjit, to be able to be all that we were intended to be in this world. We'll be right back, wrapping up Stress-Free Living for today. Don't go away. All right, everybody, 90 seconds. Please help out. Give us a thought, question that you'd like me to ask.
You probably confused everyone.
I hope not. Clarify for me. I hope it did for them.
Well, let's ask Sahil,
Did that help?
who asked us to do this show, whether it made any sense to him.
Hello. I think it did make a lot of sense. So thank you so much for, again, doing this topic again. And I really like the example that you shared, like a personal anecdote that you shared about that in a month you received a phone call after visualizing it. So my question actually revolves around that time gap. For example, like for an athlete, say, suppose one athlete could take about 2 seasons or 2 years to winning the same trophy. I think someone's yeah. So can you
say that again? Sahil, we're missing every other word. Say that again. What's the question?
Yeah. So my question is, I wanted to understand the time delay in achieving our vision and making that into reality. For example, one athlete might take 2 years to achieve his vision of winning a trophy, versus another, it could take an entire lifetime to achieve the same. Like,
Here's a word for Pastor Rick Warren.
I'll repeat my question after at the end of the show. I think there's some noise interruption.
Yeah, some kind of a technical, there's a technical issue. I think we get the idea of it though, so I'll try to convey that. All right. Anybody else? We still have a few seconds. Rick, were you about to say something? You can if you want to quickly.
I was just going to say, I agree with Sahil. I think the example that Ratanjit uncle used really brought a lot of clarity for me personally. And I think my hesitation is with the word visualization and what I think it defines, but I think it's very different than what you're explaining, which resonates with me a lot more. So thank you for the clarity.
We're back on Stress Free Living. Thank you so much for being with us here today, talking about visualization, how to actually use it in our life, what it is, what it means, how to use it. Ratanjit, one of the questions that came from our guest there is about the timing. You were amazingly rewarded by taking your thought in your most purest vein and saying, hey, what if Dow could come in and buy me something like that? And then, wow, within 30 months, 30 weeks, no, 30 days, you get that call from Dow out of the blue. How do we know what the divine, the universal power is going to be responding to us? How do we know when we are asking for something, if we're not getting it in 30 days, if we're not getting it in 30 weeks or in 30 years, does that mean we're not asking for the right thing? Does that mean that we haven't thrown a big enough tantrum, to go back to your child's example, and we need to do it again? Sometimes
it all depends on your clarity of mind. If you have mentioned that with no reservation, no doubts, sometimes there is certain doubts which remain there, so any doubt can delay it. So although we feel that I want it, but then there is some hesitation within you which is going to delay it. It all depends on the clarity of your mind. And now, basically, this visualization is over-commercialized. Basically, the whole thing is simply this, that ultimately everything is gifted to you by the divine forces. And if we are so focused on convinced that this is what we need, this is going to happen to you. And another thing is, fundamentally, first step of this whole process is clarification of you. Who are you? What is your purpose? Once you comprehend these things, you are really the power within you. We begin to live suddenly acceptance and gratefulness, and your purpose becomes clear, is to serve that divine power. So when your mission becomes tied to that serving of divine power, and you conceive certain project which is going to help you based on your uniqueness and your education, your skills, you're going to help you to add the highest value, conceive that project, and that project becomes your mission. And that project basically is coming out of adding the highest value, serving the universal power in the present in everyone else around you. So when you begin to add value to the bigger one around you, your society, your people, your environment, and you have a mission, you have a purpose, you have a project that is going to be thrown into the universe to get approval. And you will ultimately somehow find a way to reach there, to have that happen to you. It has to
Clarity
be
is a
tied,
word.
it has to be tied to your purpose of life, which is to serve the universal power. And you cannot serve the universal power separately. You have to see it present in everyone else. You see nothing but the universal power. Go ahead, Ray.
Well, you just added something there at the end that I can't let that go away. When you said you have to see that power in everyone else, what does that have? I'm sorry, this may be a stupid question, but what does that have to do with it? I was right on board with everything you said. You know, realizing my purpose, my divine power, the capabilities, all of that made perfect sense. But then you said, but you also have to realize that same divine power is everyone else. Why is that instrumental to the whole process?
See, you cannot serve the universal power in a temple or church. So universal power exists in the life itself, present in each and every one, and the environment. So when your basic purpose becomes to serve the universal power, you serve that universal power within you and people around you and society and and the environment. So and now any project which would add value to other people is serving the universal power, which is adding value to the environment, is serving the universal power. So now you are totally in line with that. Now, anytime you conceive a project which is going to add the highest value, if you construct a school or construct a hospital or construct something which is going to serve people, that is a project. And that is going to be empowered by the universal power. But ultimately, your final goal is not to build that organization, but to serve people.
Adding that element here at the end, it really makes sure that we take our ego out of it, doesn't it? Because, because it's almost egotistical in some ways for me to say, I have this universal power within me, which makes me a superstar, makes me a Superman. And now because I'm tapping into this universal power and I'm doing it, Ray, you have no ego in this. I'm giving all the credit, all the power to the universal power, but I'm still able to do this because it's me and it's in conjunction with the power. As soon as I look around me and realize that I'm just like everybody else, that same universal power is in everybody, and we all have that same ability, and this is the purpose for me to connect with everybody in the ultimate oneness. Now I've lost myself. Now I am not doing it on ego.
Basically, again, it goes back to the fundamental question, who are you? You are not the human body. You are not the life in the human body. So who are you? You don't exist. You are only awareness. That is why there is no ego.
Okay, I'm so glad you added that to the end here, because that's such a meaningful step that we almost didn't cover here. Ratanjit, thank you again, as always, for sharing a whole different perspective on a topic that And you've also said in this one, this is commercialized right now to the highest level because people that are using it, everybody jumps on board and says, hey, this is great, but certainly not using it and taking advantage of the opportunity to become empowered by it in the way that you've spoken. So thank you for sharing your thoughts and your ideas and your love with all of us today. And thank you, everybody, for being a part of this show, whether you're Zoom or however you're listening and watching. We so value you and hope that we've added value to your life. Remember, we're all playing the same game. Have a great day. We'll talk to you again real soon. Okay, everybody. Now it is showtime for everybody. We love you to open up your mics and share your thoughts.
It's very important to know that you don't exist. Where is the ego?
Wait a minute.
I'm not even there. Where is the ego? So I'm only awareness of this human body, which is not me. And what enlivens the human body is the power, which is not me. So who are you?
All right. Who wants to jump in after that comment? Since we don't exist.
Afterwards, nobody is going to join us. We are crazy.
If you don't exist, everybody, we want to hear from you anyway. Ken?
I think that's the speech that is making us
Right.
all
I think
speechless.
his last statement was
Yeah, I know.
most of us speechless.
I think we all have a lot to think about now.
So
that
there
is the fact. That is the fact.
So
Yes.
there's a story. In the church, there was a sister, senior sister, who heard that somebody won a lottery of $1 million and used that to serve the poor people. And she thought it was a great idea to win a lottery and serve poor people. And she went to, church to God and said, God, please make me win a lottery. And nothing happened. I'm just week after week for almost 2 years. Every week, she went there and shouted louder and louder with a higher desire. Please make me win the lottery. I want to serve poor people. So finally, there was a voice and said, Mary, at least buy the lottery ticket. So the idea is just the desire alone is not going to work. You have to work for significantly with your every ounce of your soul, every particle of your body.
Absolutely.
Work to get that goal. Just the desire, just the visualization alone is not going to, I think, not going to work.
Yes. Very true. Hi, Sana.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for such a wonderful session. After being introduced, I would say we have just undertaken this journey for being aware about oneness. So I would say that we are in the nursery school right now. It's become so difficult for me when it comes to the professional front. Recently, I was approached for some social impact award nomination. And I was like, oh my gosh, how can I glorify my act by filling that form itself? Because that will again put me in an ego mode that I have to count on whatever I have done when I'm not the doer. So it's difficult to balance it. I don't know how to approach it. I need guidance from you.
The moment you think, oh my goodness, I can't, it's ego mode. You have the ego. That's why that's what it's speaking. So acceptance means it's you make nothing of it, whether it is given to you the gold medal or no gold medal. You accept with this gratefulness, and because this gold medal is given to the divine in you, not you.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarity.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. Oh.
Anybody else have a thought? Question for Ratanjit? They're still thinking about us not existing, Ratanjit. We're only in awareness.
I mean, I just wanted to say that I think there's so much clarity that came from me in this second half of the talk. What I got out of Uncle's story is that the company called within 30 days and, made an offer to his company for his company, but that wasn't the visualization. My understanding is that your visualization wasn't that, oh, I want this company to come buy me out. Your visualization was, I want to focus my life on spreading oneness, right?
Yes.
So visualization is not on the outcome, like Ray was trying to get clarity on. The visualization is on dedicating your time to the purpose that you're kind of been crafted or born to achieve. So I think for me, that brought a lot of clarification, because when I think visualization in the past, it was when I was younger and I had my vision board and these are the companies I want to create and these are how many people I want using it. And, it's very outcome oriented. And my own personal experience is that once I dropped the visualization, like this board of what it is I wanted to achieve, and let go of the outcome and connected to, like you said, just being of service or being of an instrument to the universe, that's when, projects, the project I'm working on now manifested itself. Like there's no way I could have even mentally conceived the project that I'm working on now, because it's far beyond anything I could have mentally or with my own ego come up with. So I guess that's what I was struggling with in the last two calls, is that I know for a fact inside me that I couldn't visualize the project I'm working on right now. And the only reason it manifested was because I let go of visualizing the outcome. And for me, the experience has been more of the letting go, like letting go of trying to create and trying to be and trying to do, and letting go and allowing the universe to serve me in whatever, allow me to serve in whatever way I'm meant to. And that's when I feel the magic started in my own life, So my takeaway is, at least from your story, which resonated really well with me, is that the visualization is on your bigger purpose and how can I serve? And if that's what we visualize and we focus on, and then, the ego drops, we drop, then we no longer exist. It's just, the veil is gone and we can just be used in service to whatever outcome we're meant to be serving. So that brought a lot of clarity to me, and I now fully resonate with it. So thank you so much for sharing.
Ultimately, everything which is going to happen through us is the universal energy which is in us, again, making it happen. So although we feel that we are doing, we are not doing, we don't even exist.
Yeah.
So when something great happens through us, amazing gratefulness should come, because we have witnessed the doing of the divine power through us. When we possess the doing to us, which is ego, when we dedicate doing through us through divine power, that is gratefulness.
So that makes total sense to me. Sorry, just now I have another question. But like last week, you were mentioning how, like if you want to be the world's best soccer player, like you got to visualize, and I'm going to be the world. Like I go through that as a mom now, right? So this totally makes sense for my own life. But now when I think of my son, who wants to be a soccer player, wants to be the world's best soccer player, and is like visualizing himself becoming the world's best soccer player, I have a problem with that, because to me, that wish, I don't think it's coming from wanting to serve the universe and being used as an instrument. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like it's coming from a space of, I want to be the best soccer player in the world. And that's the fame and whatever, like, pride I want to have. So how do you shift from when any of us, and I fall in that category as well sometimes, when we're so focused on the outcome, how do you, should we let go of the outcome and just focus on the bigger picture and being an instrument? Or how do you shift that, like, outcome focus to intention focus?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Ultimately, until your ego gets out of you, that focus is going to remain on the worldly goods, worldly glamour, worldly these things. So as a youngster, when he's playing the soccer, when his vision becomes bringing joy to the people who are watching the game through the craft he creates. So he is focused on adding the value to the viewers who are watching the show rather than getting the credit from him. Once he realizes all the game would be played by this human body which is gifted to him, and the energy which is implanted in him through universal energy. So all this credit should go to that energy, not to him. So it is very important for parents to make them realize who they are. And once that thing gets embedded in a child, they begin to see this world totally differently.
I can expand on that because I love what you just said. As a child, everybody says, I want to be something. I want to be a fire, the old adage, I want to be a fireman or a policeman, or I want to be a scientist or a chemist, or I want to be a doctor, whatever it is. There's nothing wrong with him wanting to be the best soccer player in the world. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But if we teach what Ratanjit said, if we teach that youngster that when you do achieve that, and I believe you can be the best. Just remember that it's because of what's inside of you. It's not necessarily because of your body or your mind. It's because you have this universal power to be able to accomplish that. And that when you do that, you realize how you are going to be such an influence on everybody because we're all part of the same one. And you're going to have such a stage now as a celebrity to be able to share this divine wisdom with everybody and this oneness with everybody, and that you're going to, if that becomes a way of teaching who you really are through that. So, and yet it endorses him to be able to go out and achieve that, but now for the right reasons. I mean, I think that's because you don't want to kill his dream. I mean, as a mom, you don't want to kill his dream and say that's not going to happen. You almost want to say that you can do that, but the reason you can do that is because of the universal power within you. Would you agree with that, Ratanjit, or no?
Yeah, basically, whenever they are playing, the child is playing the soccer game. Whenever he's able to take a good shot and results into goal, he has to mentally give the credit to the divine power. So once that starts to happen, that energy, that craftsmanship is going to be enhanced in him rather than egoic feeling, oh, I achieved this, I gold. So ultimately, we have to understand one thing very clearly. At the time we perform the act, we are absent. I give a common example of a great music pianist, who is playing the piano in the Carnegie Hall, and he's the world's best. So when he is playing, before he starts, he's nervous whether he's going to play or no. He's going to give his best performance or no. So that is his ego. So when he begins to perform, and slowly, he gets completely absorbed and lost in the music, he becomes music. That is the time the divine power in him playing the music. And when concert is over, when he's finished playing, and when he bows, his ego comes back. Oh, I did good. Everybody's clapping. So whenever we perform, that is the divine force working. Whenever we take credit, it's absence of the divine force.
That's a tremendous teaching moment. Tremendous way to. We did 2 shows on parenting a few weeks ago. They're up on YouTube if anybody want to catch them. But I don't know if we ever got into that. That would have been a good part to put into that, to teach our kids that when they're at their best, when their best performance is there, it's actually not even them. What an amazing, powerful thing to tell our kids.
Yeah, when you are performing, when you are totally concentrated on the act of performing, this is the divine power working in you, not you. And when you are done with it, and people praise, oh God, you are good and all that, that's your ego. That's time you are not the performer.
What empowerment comes from that knowledge? I mean, I can be my best all the time because that switch is capable of being turned on 24/7. That empowerment is there within me my entire life.
Yeah.
At 6 and at 96.